Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome to the Realine podcast where we talk about your faith, your family, and your money. I'm your host, Brytton Rogers, the CEO and the founder of Realine. And today we have an awesome guest on the podcast, my friend Scott Anderele, down here from Franklin, Tennessee, right? Well, Nashville,
Yep.
technically.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We're on opposite sides. Nashville,
yeah,
Tennessee, right by the airport.
yeah. So, Scott and I became friends back in, I guess, 2019 when we moved here to Franklin, my wife and I. And Scott, tell us a little bit more about your family and your family dynamics, your kids, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Faith, family, money. So, yeah, we met because of faith, a small group. We had a young professionals group of younger people striving to do a good job in the career. And actually, our small group leader there was Mike and Becky Neal. And it's
Yeah,
fun. My dad gave me advice younger. He said, find people you want to be like and just keep following them around. And that was Mike and Becky for me, and for
yeah,
both me and my wife, to the point now that I work for him. But
it's awesome.
family, I'm married to Brianna. That's who you met. I think we got married the same year. But we just met right after our weddings. And we have
Yeah,
two daughters. Both of them are full of energy, which is awesome
yeah, they love
and
each other.
exhausting. Yeah, 4 years old and 7 months old as of yesterday.
Oh
Yeah,
wow, that's crazy, man. That
yeah,
that flew by.
yeah. And then talking about money real quick.
Yeah.
It's part of my career and all the stuff that I love. I work with a company that what we do is we train leadership and help companies build strong cultures in the credit
Mm,
union space. The credit union space, I would say they're like the front line of my dream company, Ramsey, of helping people win with money. So I get
yeah.
to help people that are helping people win with money.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I know we've
Yeah.
talked for our audience, Scott and I have talked offline, a lot about Ramsey and just because I worked there and Scott's love for it. And you even interviewed Ken Coleman, I think, too, once or
Yeah.
twice, maybe.
Dude, once, but it was my first
Yeah.
podcast ever.
Oh
Yeah, it was my
gosh.
first podcast and yeah, King Coleman, which in my head, that was like the big
Yeah.
person. And I was like, holy cow, starting off with it's definitely been the biggest guest I've gotten to interview yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've gotten way better. That we had great
Crazy.
conversation and was really able to apply it to the credit union world. But
Yeah.
there was some parts that I'm like, if I could have been on it today, it would have been way better.
Yeah, yeah. My first podcast was just me, so I'm lame, but that's nothing in comparison to that. So, oh
Starting
man.
off by
Yeah.
yourself is definitely helping you build the skills and comfort of
Yeah.
talking to a mic and nobody.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, dude, and I share that mutual, love and respect for Mike Neal too, man. I'm so glad that you work with him too. Just so shout out to Mike, right? Like for this
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
So,
big one.
but well, yeah, man. Today just really kind of wanted to pick your brain on a few things for both of our audiences and really just talk about leadership. And like I know that that's a big part of what you do at Service
Yeah,
Star. And
yeah.
it's a very broad term that lots of people like to talk about. And and stuff that I've talked about too, and learned at Ramsey and learned at different places that I've worked. But really, just want to like hear from you about what does leadership look like in the workplace. At your current job, what did it look like previously in your previous role, at Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
and really just kind of how that trickles down. How that trickles down from it's work is a huge part of our time that we spend, and
Hmm.
family is a huge part of our time that we spend. And I'd just be curious if you could just kind of high level just kind of first talk about work and how that you emulate leadership there and why it's so important, and then how that trickles down kind of into your life with Bree and your kiddos.
Yeah, dude, you're speaking my language. Because I strongly believe that leadership or just being focused should impact all areas of life.
Yeah.
And one of these
Mm,
ideas that I talk about, this idea of a refinement process, is
mm,
not meant just to be in professional. It's meant to be in all aspects of life.
mm,
So the stuff that we talk about that can be applied to whether you're a credit union leader, an accountant or leading an accounting team,
Yeah.
or you're at a Chick-fil-A.
Mm,
These things apply there, but they also apply to leading at home, leading a small group at church, all
mm.
those things. So you had asked, hey, what are some of the key leadership principles that you teach for leaders? And then, if I
Yeah.
heard you right, you said, how does that translate to family as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
So, one thing, my personal purpose is I want to help inspire where people go, oh, I can do this, and
Mm,
equip. Because
hmm
if you inspire them, I call it the summer camp high. You go there, you get really excited, you leave, you're like, let's go do this. And then after a week, you get smacked in the face. Things
Yeah.
happen. You've got to reschedule meetings. You're like, you know what? Actually, it felt really good, but we just can't do it real life. That's
Yeah.
idealistic. So I want to inspire people where they say, I can do this. Let me go run through a brick wall, but then also
Mm,
equip where they
that's
go,
good.
I know how to do this. So that way, when I leave after a coaching session or a conference, that
Mm,
it's not like they're flying blind. They have the roadmap. They know what to do. So with
mm,
this idea of equip and aspire people to fight for dreams,
mm.
I was thinking, all right, how can I in the workplace? And one of our stats, so Service Star Consulting, we work exclusively with credit unions, but I believe all
Yeah.
these leadership principles apply everywhere. But
Mm,
we're one of the only research-based leadership courses, meaning we
okay.
studied the top credit unions, like the best of the best, and
Yeah.
we interviewed their leaders, we interviewed their teammates, and
Mm,
we interviewed their members, like their actual clients.
yeah.
And we were looking at what's the commonality, what are they doing? And based on that, created our leadership trainings. And one of the things we learned in the credit union space, but I really think it applies in most workplaces, is that
Yeah.
it takes a leader, a manager, 10 years, 10 to 11 years before they
Mm,
go through any formal leadership training. So it takes a leader 10 to
crazy.
11 years before their boss says, hey, let's put you through Entree Leadership or Service
Mm,
Stars Leadership course, something like that.
mm.
So a lot of these people, they get promoted because they're really good at doing the work. They can create spreadsheets, they can analyze the data,
Yeah.
they have all the answers for people. They have great relationships with members, but they haven't been coached or taught how to lead a team, how to set expectations, how to have hard conversations if people are not meeting
Mm,
expectations. It takes about 10 years.
yeah.
And what I
It's
had
crazy.
realized, yeah, it is crazy. Actually, a good question is with your background, what you've seen, does that stat
Yeah.
ring true? Are you like, oh, I've seen this? Or are you like, oh, no, have you been blessed and gotten to be a place that has trained you before those 10 years?
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, obviously, like we talk a lot about Ramsey, but Ramsey's one of those unique places that,
Yeah.
even as a first year team member, you get kind of thrown into entree leadership.
Hmm.
However, I think that the path from, zero to, let's just say from zero to leader, I think
Yeah.
is faster at Ramsey than
Amen.
most
Yeah.
places. But yeah, no, I've heard a very similar stat. 8 to 10 years is kind of what I've heard. But
Mm.
before you're ready and you're trustworthy, and like it's almost like this magic number, you know, uh,
Yeah.
that that is out there, that floats out there. And so yeah, that's sort of my familiarity with it. But I would definitely say that at Ramsey they try to speed that process up a little bit so you can be promoted and so you can provide for your family and so um so yeah, yeah,
And so
hopefully that.
you also are engaged with work, whether you're in that
Yeah,
leadership position or not. You have someone developing you to be the best version of you that you can be in and outside of work. Patrick
yeah,
Lencioni, which a lot of Ramsey's principles are based on, he says
yeah,
that
yeah,
Ramsey's culture is like the poster child, like the best implementation of his teachings
yeah.
that they've ever seen. And that's what we strive to do is try to help create a Ramsey-like structure at
Mm,
credit unions so that
yeah,
people want to come into work because not many people wake up saying, you know what? I want to go be a teller at a credit union, or I want to help
yeah.
people with loans, or I want to do fraud protection. But all of
Mm-hmm.
this stuff is helping people win with money. So then what can they do? They can fight for dreams. They can go travel and experience places they've never experienced. They could open that small business they've wanted to open. They could, like
Yeah.
me, start the rock band that they wanted to do, or be the family man or family woman that they want to be. But what's the
Mm,
biggest thing that gets in the way of fighting for dreams? Is
mm-hmm.
money. So
Yeah.
yeah, what
That's
what
good.
you have at Ramsey is definitely rare, or had
Yeah,
at Ramsey. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
I mean
with
that
that,
that was good. I always tell people, just real quick, I always tell people, I say like Dave turned me into an entrepreneur. you
Yeah.
know, because
Yeah.
and that's what happens with most people. I feel like that leave that organization is they leave to go start their own thing, which is amazing and which is great. And I think that
Yeah.
that means he's doing his job as a leader, um, in leadership. So yeah. So how does that
Wait,
premise
wait,
and that?
wait. Can we pause
Yeah,
on that?
yeah,
You said Ramsey made you an entrepreneur. Is that right? Right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
it
yep.
reminds me, my dad, he was a pastor, and one of the things he said was, as a pastor, what hurts, but is also it's bittersweet, is
Hmm.
that you're raising up leaders to advance the kingdom. And
Yeah,
sometimes you have a benchmark of worship leaders that are all very competent and really good. I remember thinking
yeah.
specifically, we had Josh Scott, we had Tyler Higgins, we had Ian. And what happened was these worship leaders were so good, and we took pride in our worship,
Hmm.
our musicians, in their skill set, and also their theology. But what would
Yeah,
happen is then they'd find opportunities to be worship leaders somewhere else. We still kept
yeah.
our main worship leader, but that's part of the thing is as you're developing leaders to lead the kingdom, they're
Mm,
going to grow. I don't know if the terms outgrow you, but they're going to grow and go help other places be strong and have a strong
yeah,
culture like that. And I think that's a testament to Ramsey because a lot of people, when they
yeah,
leave a job,
yeah.
the number one reason from our research is because of a bad boss. And
Mm,
what defines a bad boss, when we did more research,
mm,
70% of people said the bad boss was lack of clear expectations, that they didn't know what a
mm.
good job looked like. And I think what you just
Yeah,
described is Ramsey and their team clearly described what a good job looked like, and they taught you to think like an entrepreneur. They developed you, whether people
yeah.
go up into leadership or not. And then
Hmm.
some of them say, you know what, I think I could do this for myself. And
Yeah,
they and
yeah.
that's a win. It's hard. It's
It's a big
bittersweet,
win.
but it's different than what I see at some credit unions where people just quit and they say, I'm going to go work. I've seen leaders
Hmm.
quit and then go take a position as a teller or as a contributor at another
Mm,
place because they were just so burnt out. And that's like
hmm.
the opposite of where we want to
Yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah. I would say, that's one of those, I call it rare air places. There's a
Yeah.
coffee shop here in town, Alabaster. When
Yeah.
you walk in there, it's like rare air. It's like there's something different about this place when you
Hmm.
walk in
Hmm.
there, and you can definitely feel God's presence there. You can feel God's
Yeah.
presence at Ramsey, even when you go into a Chick-fil-A. So talk a little bit about Chick-fil-A, like your experience at Chick-fil-A, right? Those guys work hard. Like
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
the employees at Chick-fil-A work really, really hard, but there's this culture of leadership and excellence that
Hmm.
is already there. So talk a little bit about kind of that. I know we're going a little bit backward, but I'd
Yeah.
love to
Yeah.
hear your experience there and kind of this whole premise of what we're talking about with leadership, how that was
Yeah.
embodied
So
there.
before the job I do now, where I coach leaders and help them build culture, I was at Chick-fil-A, and I was the operations director or training and hospitality director in the greater Nashville area. So
Mm,
it was for a few Chick-fil-A's, it wasn't all corporate wide, but
yeah.
what you just described, I would say is the same as Ramsey's principles of what they did is they set very, very clear expectations of what a job well done looks like. And those
Mm,
clear expectations, they weren't just I have to do this. It was tied to something bigger. It was tied to who do we want to become? So
yeah.
naturally, you draw people that want to become that. So Chick-fil-A's mission statement, or at least the mission statement for the Chick-fil-A's I worked at, was really simple. It was to be the most caring company in the world. It didn't have anything
Hmm.
to do with chicken.
Yeah.
But what Truett Cathy said is, um, we're in the people business. We just sell chicken.
Yep.
And it's funny
Mm, that's
because
good.
I learned this year that, or last year, that the founder of Publix kind of said the same thing. We're in the people business,
Yeah.
but we help with groceries, and it's
Mm,
that mindset. So people are connecting, saying, "I'm here to serve people. I want to." I
yeah.
remember
It's
one
good.
person I trained to take my spot as the trainer at one Chick-fil-A because my job was to go to underperforming Chick-fil-A, help build the culture, help them build sales and service, and then they sent me to another one. There's about two or three
Oh,
locations I
okay.
did that for in Nashville. And one of them, John Mitchell, I remember he said, I want to be the highlight to somebody's day. And something
Mm,
Chick-fil-A always talked about was the mindset that Chick-fil-A, we're the pit stop for people.
mm,
Meaning, if you go to NASCAR and they're driving or even F1, they stop and you see how fast they change those tires. Like they'll show
yeah.
you that video and you're like, it was like 7 seconds. And the whole idea was they wanted to be that fast in the
Right.
drive-through or inside so people can come in, fuel up, and go and live their life and do the important things that they have. We don't want to be a
Yeah.
pain point in their day. And that tied in. So that
Awesome.
was the mission. That was the heart. That's what it looks like in action. So then what did they do?
Mm,
They gave you very specific behaviors. So to be
mm,
the highlight to someone's day, to show that we're being the most caring company, they're like, what can we do that would display that? Something that's easy that everyone could do. What's something? And it was our word choice. So when someone says
mm.
thank you, Chick-fil-A
Yep.
employee is supposed to say, my
My pleasure.
pleasure.
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
It's because that word choice builds the narrative of we're here to be the most caring company in the world. It's our pleasure to
Yeah.
serve you. Other thing is we don't say I can take the next customer here. It's we
Hmm.
say guest. Why? Because we
Yeah.
want to be the most
Yep.
caring company and we're inviting them into our home. These are very simple service standards that reflect what our mission, being the most caring company. And just like
Mm.
being the pit stop, that vision of, hey, we want to be a quick stop that doesn't add pain but brings the highlight to somebody's day or sunshine smile is this
Yeah.
idea of, hey, we don't walk to deliver an order, we run to deliver an order.
Yeah.
Hey, we
Yeah.
don't wait till
Literally.
someone drives to the menu to take an order. We go out with an iPad. We're the first ones to do that, and then
Yeah.
using the app. And now other restaurants are catching on. And the big thing was Chick-fil-A then created a door so they could literally run out and give the orders to
Hmm.
people. And now other restaurants are doing it. But
Yeah.
what breeds that innovation, that motivation to innovate,
Hmm.
is because it's connected to something bigger. People
Yeah.
say, I want to be
Definitely.
the most caring company. And if you bring in people that don't really relate to that and you start saying,
Hmm.
hey, you gotta say my pleasure. Hey, we're running to show that we want to be the pit stop for people. They're like, dude, this place is weird.
Yeah.
And they're not going to last. They'll
No.
very
Yeah.
rarely will you have to let go of someone. They'll just quit because they're
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
this is weird. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you've experienced that some of the companies you've been to, but I think
Yeah.
that describes that rare air is that leadership of
Mm.
having clear expectations.
Like we're trying to emulate that, right? Like at Realine even, and I know that
Mhm.
you are too at Service Star, and I think that's just it's just that's what stands out. Like when you see those companies, and you're just like, man, I want to be like them. You know, you gave me a an early copy of your book called The Refinement Process,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, you talked about that a little bit in the book, and I want you to give our audience, you know, a rundown of that. You talked a little bit about that, about how, you know, that people, we look at leaders and we aspire to them, like the John Maxwells and the Dave
Mhm.
Ramseys and the, you know, we look up to them, yet we don't know how to lead because like we don't think that we can lead because
Yeah.
we don't think that we're capable of it. And so I just found that really I found that kind of really interesting, and maybe you can elaborate on that more. But like when I
Yeah.
do think of John Maxwell, let's just take him for example.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, okay, this guy is well seasoned. He's written books. He speaks all over the world. Like, he
Mhm.
doesn't need
Mhm.
any kind of leadership training. If you sat down with him, he would say, I'm still learning. I'm still
Yeah.
learning. You know, I'm still trying to hone my craft. I'm still trying to be the best leader that I can be. So,
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the refinement process, and maybe that was right at the beginning of the
Still
doc you
learning.
sent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to hear more, and I think our audience would love to hear more about that.
Dude, I think that's such a great um, synopsis of the book and talking about John
Yeah.
Maxwell saying, I'm still learning. So, what prompted this book? I got to co-write it. So, I had a friend who created this concept, and I
Mm,
brought her on for our credit union leadership podcast, which really applies to anybody, but some of the
sure.
examples are credit union specific. But as she shared the 4 R's of refinement, I was like, wow, this is really
Mm,
good. And I started thinking about it a lot, and I was like, I think we should write a book and get this out there.
yeah.
And with no personal aspirations of like, I never said I wanted to write a book or, oh, I want to go do this. Now I'm starting to think about that as we write. Like, how cool would it be to start a workshop or go speak on this?
Yeah. Definitely.
But I reached out to her and I said, this is really good stuff. And
Mm,
I asked her about co-writing it. And going back, so you talked about this whole idea of I'm still learning.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
we wanted to do is we wanted to give people a process, a very like what I've learned is some people you can just say the principle and people go, I got it. I know how to put it into action. But there's
Hmm.
some people that maybe they need the leadership training or mentors. I need help connecting this principle, this idea, this vague thought
Yeah.
to action. How will I do this in my day to day as a leader or day to day in my home or day to day at my church? And
Yeah.
one of the things as we were writing the book and as I've been working with leaders is I've realized actually this is the book I wrote for myself in a lot of
Mm,
ways because I felt like in a lot of parts of my life I didn't get to have that mentor that I would reach out and be like that
yeah.
would say, "Hey, you've got this. Hey, you're the gold. I know you can do this. Let's push you a little harder." I
Mm,
have had those in my life before, but there was a phase in my 20s that I felt like I was
mm,
alone out there.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about, oh, I need to actively seek a mentor. Someone's not going to walk up and say, Scott, you know what? I want to be your
I
mentor. But
want to
anyways,
lead you
this book
today.
is
Yeah.
for, yeah, I want to lead you today. I've
Yeah.
learned that you've got to ask. But
Yeah.
this book is for people like me in my 20s that said, man, I feel like I've got the chops. I want to be a leader. I want to
Mm,
do better at this. But I don't have someone to guide me. Now, the preface, what I'll say or disclaimers, we need relationship. We need relationship to grow. We need relationship because they have context. But
yeah.
this book is to help you get there if you don't have that relationship yet,
Hmm.
or maybe if you're developing, you can be someone's mentor and use the concepts in this book. And one of
Yeah.
the first things we talk about is the three things we've got to realize. You're the gold, refine your gold, share your gold.
Mm,
So what I want to talk about with this is a lot of us we're looking for someone else to come and say, you know what? You've got the chops. I want to
yeah.
mentor you. Hey, I want to develop you. You're really good. Hey, you know what? I want to promote you. When
Yeah.
really what we've got to do is we've got to speak it into existence. We've got to do the work ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
And that can be scary. It can be scary to
Mm,
say out loud. Like with you, like just the idea of, I think this is what Ramsey's probably done really well is they've helped you discover you're the gold. Because what you specifically said earlier was
yeah. Yeah.
one of the things I learned from Ramsey was to be an entrepreneur. I think Ramsey Solutions did a great job of helping you find that you're the gold during that time. So this idea is you're the gold, whether you have a mentor that's speaking it into you or you've got to discover it yourself.
Yeah.
Now, my question for you, Britton,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
when it comes to you starting Realine,
Hmm.
this idea of you're the goal, did you have someone, a mentor that spoke into you saying, hey, you know what? I think you could do this. How did that journey start with you taking the courage to say, I want to start doing this by myself?
That's what I was actually kind of thinking about as you were talking about that. So I had leaders, over me at Ramsey, but when you're in a corporate setting, it's kind of a very linear, like you're going to get promoted 2 years from now, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And it's kind of a system that I fit into
Yeah.
that it was already established. It was like, hey, I just jumped into this and I fit into the cycle.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and then there was a guy who his sister worked at Ramsey and he had just started a bookkeeping company and he reached out to her, she reached out to me and she was like, "Hey, my brother is interested in talking to you." So his name's Brad and Brad he invested in me from the standpoint of getting me to understand bookkeeping and he invested time in showing me how to do it. I wouldn't necessarily call him a mentor.
Yeah.
He was a very good help, I would say, to motivating me to I kept thinking like as I got into bookkeeping and as I was doing it, I was like, man, I think I could do this on my own.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that company, his company is very niche and very like, hey, we're going to focus on in-home health, the in-home health industry.
Hmm.
Whereas
Hmm.
as almost as soon as I said, hey, I think I can do this on my own, I started getting requests from coffee shops and from churches and from dance competitions and from engineering companies, just these people that
Hmm.
knew I was doing bookkeeping on the side, but weren't quite in that niche of
Yeah.
in-home health. And so I was like, man, Brad, I think I can do this, on my own. And so he helped me actually start my own LLC called Realine.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
kind of so I wouldn't call him a mentor in the sense of like I'm meeting with him all the time and he's constantly giving me encouragement and all of that. But he was a big instrument, I'll say, in me starting Realign and gaining that confidence. That in addition to simultaneously while at Ramsey learning all the entre leadership principles that they
Yeah.
teach over there, kind of the two things kind of blended. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. Like that's
Yeah.
not in an arrogant way, just like the light bulb clicked of like
Well, I
I can
think that
offer
speaks to the
bookkeeping
power
and
of
CFO. Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
that
No,
you
for
needed
sure, man.
multiple relationships and that helped you find your gold. And some of us, we have that,
Yeah.
and that's great. Some of us, we don't. It's fun
Sure.
hearing you talk about that. You, Brad, it sounds like if I'm going to
Yeah.
Ken Coleman's proximity principle, he has
Mm,
the five archetypes you need to surround yourself with to get to reach the job you want or start the business. And he says a professor, someone's that's a teacher. I would
mm,
say in a lot of senses, I'm the professor for a lot of leaders in the credit
yeah.
union industry. It's a more formal sit down talking about the principles and how would you apply it. There's the peer. So this would be
Mm,
like if you're talking to someone else who's starting a business at the same time as you. There's the professional. So it's like, who is it that I want to become? So Brad could
yeah.
be the professional. Oh, he's doing this and I want to mimic him. But it could
Yeah.
also be someone that's like really big that like you're watching YouTube video. Like for me, it
Yeah.
would be a
Yeah.
John Maxwell or Ken Coleman.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like Brad was a producer for you. Producer
Mm-hmm.
meaning they're getting you in touch with the right resources and things so you can get to that job that
Yeah.
you want. So with that
Yeah.
idea of
For sure.
mentor doesn't have to be, and then the other one is mentor. But with that,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like you found a producer and a professional in
Yeah.
Brad.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
for sure. It's awesome.
I want to keep going through this gold analogy that we talk about in our book. So
Yeah.
you're the gold is, and I think that's the biggest step for some people because it's such an identity statement. It's such
Mm-hmm.
a mental block where or say I can't do that. No, I can't start my own business. You know what?
Yeah.
Who am I to speak and teach on leadership? You know, I
Mm-hmm.
actually that was something I went through a lot. So during my time at Chick-fil-A, I thought the only way to help people and develop was to
Mm.
be a leader like
Yeah.
to well
Right.
be a manager like a manager of a Chick-fil-A to have that influence and then over time when I got out of that fixed mindset and realized I'm the gold I was able to find out oh there's whole jobs where I can just focus on the thing I believe I do really well
Yeah.
and but I had to say I'm the gold and then when I started talking to people that I knew I said hey what I really want to do is use my passion for teaching and instruction to help people win with money and because I was able to admit I was the gold I was able
Mm.
to find the opportunities that I wanted to, which
Mm-hmm.
now leads me into the second part, which what you were talking about, John
Yeah.
Maxwell, and this is what our book mostly covers: is refine your gold. It's this
Mm.
idea, hey, I'm learning every day. I could get better, or in each situation, it might be a little different. And it's from all right. Now that I understand I'm the gold and I have this purpose, we
Yeah.
help people create a personal purpose statement. Is saying, all right, how
Yep.
can I best live out my gold, my purpose in each moment, whether it's with my team when I'm doing a one-on-one coaching session, when I'm faced with a big decision and both options seem pretty bad. It's
Mm.
when I'm coming home and I'm saying, how do I lead my family when we need to make a decision about schools or what meal we're going to have today? All these kind of things you can use
Yeah.
the refinement process for, and it's a reflection process. So this refinement, you're taking past lived experiences and you're
Mm-hmm.
going through the four R's of refinement. So the first one is let's go through the past week and let's think about what are
Mm-hmm.
some of the highs? Like what are the things you're really proud of that happened professionally or personally? So just spend
Mm-hmm.
some time just thinking about that real quick. What are the things that you're really
Yeah.
proud of? And then I
Mm.
want to ask, all right, in the past week, what are some things that made you real upset?
Yeah.
Real upset.
Mm.
So for me, if I'm thinking about the past week, one thing I'm really proud of was I got to this is professional. I was in charge of my first executive report. So we went
Okay.
to a client, their C-suite team, and we gave them a report of what's the improvements we're seeing with their leadership and culture building.
Mm.
And it went really well. It went really well. We talked about here's the contract. This is what we fulfilled. This is what we have yet to fulfill. Here's some things
Mm.
we've noticed. And it
Mm.
went really well. Everyone on the team was impressed. It was cool. I'm also going to talk about to help people. All right. So that's something that went really well. And then what's something that didn't go really well? Yesterday or even today, I got pretty angry at my 4-year-old daughter who's opening and closing the refrigerator over and over again when I asked her to stop, and
Ivy,
my
come
patience
on.
was wearing thin. Yeah, so I was a little
That's funny.
short and had a harsh tone with her and slammed the refrigerator door shut and said, "Stop doing that."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so with this, all right, you can use your refinement process for
Mm.
both. Something that you did really well, and you could say, all right, what can I do and learn, keep doing that? Or you can look at something that didn't go well and say, what needs to change next time this happens?
Yeah. It's
So
good.
with
Yeah.
finding your gold, you
Mm.
create this personal purpose statement. So like I said, mine is it's this idea of I want to equip and inspire and equip others to fight for dreams. And I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten so detailed now that I actually even
Yeah.
have little statements for different. aspects of life. So let's take the bad example. So I was short with my daughter and I closed the refrigerator door harshly.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
not living out that. And honestly, I have a personal purpose statement just as a father, and I say I want to be a father who makes his daughters feel loved and equipped. Loved,
Mm.
that they know they're cared for, they can come to me and talk about anything, and that, but also equipped, like I'm preparing them to be a functional human being.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking about my purpose and I'm thinking about this moment that didn't happen well, I go,
Hmm.
okay, I'm recapturing it. So recapture is the first R of refinement. And what I'm doing there is it's as if I took a video on my phone.
Yeah.
And as I take a video on my phone, what do? I watch the video. And it
Hmm.
might not be great, but I'm
Yeah.
looking at the facts. It's just cold, hard facts. And I'm just
Yeah.
saying, all right. And so in the recapture phase, I'm just asking myself questions. What time of day was it? All right. What happened before? Did I have a meal? Did I not have a meal? How did I sleep? How did my daughter sleep? What were the
Mm.
conversations we were having in that moment? How many times did she shut the door? What did I ask? What was she asking for in those moments? So I'm just analyzing all the details. I'm being an
Yeah.
investigator.
Yeah.
Then this leads me to naturally the second R. The second R is relive. So
Hmm.
relive is I move from just watching the tape and I
Yeah.
say it's inward focused. What were my thoughts of the events that happened? How did I interpret it? What's my story?
Yeah.
How did I feel? And sometimes some people are really good at this. Some of us we don't get deeper. And
Yeah.
what I challenge people to do is ask the question why 7 times. So I slammed the door shut and had a harsh tone with my daughter. Why? Well, it bugged me because it was an annoying noise. So, all right. Well, not only that, it
Yeah.
also she didn't listen. She wasn't listening to me. All right. Why does it bother you that she doesn't listen to you? Well, I want a daughter. If I want someone to feel loved and equipped, I want them to be able to
Yeah.
be a functional human being and be able to understand if they're talking to people and people request something to be able to operate and not be grow up to be some bratty kid that doesn't listen. Why is that
Yeah.
important to you? And you start answering, you keep going. And the more you can answer that question why, the
Mm.
more you're able to uncover thoughts and emotions that you had below the surface.
Hmm.
So that's one practical step to help with relive, to help you find the emotions and thoughts you had. And that's something
Yeah.
we walk through people in the book. So then once you finish relive, which is a hard
Mm.
step for a lot,
Yeah.
but then
That is a
comes the
lot.
next star, rumination. And this is where I think the magic happens.
Hmm.
It's you move from what's your story and you say, what's their story? You get out of your side of yourself and you start thinking, how could have these actions or these words been perceived in a different way than I intended for it
Yeah.
to be?
Mm.
So
It's good.
when I asked my daughter to stop the door, slamming the door, what was what was my tone of voice? Maybe I thought I was speaking calmly, but maybe I said it in a way that irritated her, that caused her to
Hmm.
do it more as a lash out.
Yeah.
Maybe there was something like she was trying to get my attention, and I wasn't paying attention because I was so involved in this conversation with my wife. And I'm
Hmm.
starting to think, all right, what are all the things she's going through? And to help people with that, in our book, we have what we call a rumination map, where you
Mm.
start thinking, all right, what are their thoughts? What are they hoping to accomplish in this relationship or meeting? How are they seeing things? What are the things that you imagine them saying? What are the things they are
Hmm.
hearing? All this stuff that affects their worldview that helps you understand how do they interpret this situation with hope, or how do they
Mm.
interpret this situation with worry? And
Mm.
then from that, you get to the last star, which is review. So you say, all right, based on what I've ruminated on,
Yeah.
based on how I've relived this and I've got real honest with myself, and based on
Mm.
just recapturing the facts, I what am I going to do differently? You hold it to the gold standard. And gold
Yeah.
is it's an acronym. So gold is G, what's your goal? What do you set out to achieve? So this goes back to what's your personal purpose. So for me with my daughter, it's I want to be a father who makes his daughter feel loved and equipped. And then from that O, what are the opportunities? Opportunities either you took advantage of and you did really well, or
Mm.
opportunities you didn't take advantage of here.
Yeah.
Um, I would say there was an opportunity to sit down with my daughter and talk to her about, and I'm processing this in real time, but
Yeah. Yeah.
somewhere along the lines of like, we don't slam the door because of this, like a teaching moment of
Hmm.
how it affects the refrigerator working, how it's overstimulating the family as we're trying to get things ready. It was an
Hmm.
opportunity to help her feel equipped, and I missed out on
Hmm.
that. Review stage. So the review stage, GOLD is the acronym. We talked about G, the goal, which is your personal purpose. O, the opportunities. L, which is losses or liberations, meaning What did I have to say
Mm.
no to? Or where was I freed in this moment because I let go of something? Or
Yeah.
the negative side could also be, what did I lose in this moment? How did I not live out my purpose? So clearly for me, being short with my patience, closing the door, I
Yeah.
lost the opportunity to help my daughter feel loved and or
Yeah.
equipped. So then the
Mm.
D is, how are you going to develop? So for me, if I'm going through the recapturing, I'm thinking all the stuff, well, a
Yeah.
lot of it had to do, I think, with lack of sleep and not eating that morning. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be more aware of, hey,
Hangry.
making sure
I'm
yeah,
just
I stayed up late
kidding.
watching a movie yesterday, and I usually don't do that. So
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure I go to bed before 10 p.m., and I'm going to make sure that I eat, and maybe I should eat before I wake up with my daughter. So
Mm.
you get a very actionable step that you say, all right, next time that this happens, I will do this. And this helps you
Mm.
refine
Yeah.
yourself as a leader. And honestly, it's self-reflection to be better, but it's also you can use this whole refinement process when it comes to strategically thinking, maybe rolling out a new
Yeah.
product, maybe marketing something or
Mm.
rolling out a podcast episode. And you can look back and be like, all right,
Yeah.
let me recapture the facts. How did I feel? How did I interpret it? How would other people interpret it? All right, how am I
Yeah.
going to develop? So with that,
It's
Britton,
awesome.
I talked
Yeah.
so long, but
No, you're
what are
good, dude.
some things that
That's
stand out to you in that refinement process? Or
yeah.
specifically, were you able to pick out a memory or an experience
Yeah.
this past week?
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely makes me think about, just times where, I mean, especially because you gave the real example of, you and Ivy, your daughter,
Yeah.
and just like how I react, to our kids or to situations when I'm stressed or when I'm, like yesterday, one of the big things that comes to mind is I woke up and instantly thought about the things I had to do.
Mm,
And I was like, gosh, like today's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, and then it's going to be the weekend again, and I don't want to work on the weekend. And so I got, six things on my to-do list that are all going to take lots of time, and it's a busy month with taxes and turning all that in. But the way that I spoke to Maggie yesterday, I had to apologize for last night
mm,
because, you know, the way that I spoke to her was, well, I'm too busy to like care about you right now, or I'm too
mm.
busy to care about the kids right now. And what the thing that I need to do is more important. And so I think it's so good and it's humbling, right? Like for both of us,
Yeah.
it's part of refinement, when it comes to I think leadership is being willing to say, number one, like I was wrong, or here's where I made a mistake, here's where
Hmm,
I
hmm.
messed up, and then going through that process, like I love it, man. I think that it is. I'm excited for you to eventually get it into the world, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that those
It,
steps are like the honest questions, the honest things to be asking when we're in situations um, like that where we could have done it better, or we could have,
mhm.
I could have changed my tone, or I could have changed this or that. So, dude, I love
Yeah.
it.
Dude,
It's good.
well, one thing like you had said about like your response to Maggie, and that's not
Yeah.
the husband you want to be, and then that asks the deeper question of who's the husband you want to be, or who's
Yeah.
the with our personal purpose. What I encourage
Mm-hmm.
people, because sometimes people say, oh, here's my commitment statement at work, and it's, well, no, the personal purpose is who are you in and outside of work in all aspects of life. What's the impact you desire to make to those around you, or if you're in charge of a project, or you're in charge of a project at the house, and how are you
Yeah.
going to implement that with these values? Because I always think values they're the flavor. It's like Doritos. The Dorito, the chip is the impact. All
Yeah.
right. So for me, it's I want to inspire and equip, whether it's my
Yep.
daughters, my wife, my friends, or clients.
Mm.
And but then it's how do I do that? Well, my values, that's where you sprinkle on the Cool Ranch or the nacho cheese. And for me, that
Yeah.
is positivity, um, it's focus, and it's
Mm.
responsibility. Where others might
Mm.
have different values. It might be the values of
Yeah.
precision, accuracy. It might be the
Mm.
values of respect, the values of creativity,
Yeah.
because that changes how you make that impact drastically. So,
Yeah.
what I've
Yeah.
found with a lot of people is it prompts questions that we don't think about. And a lot of times, situations like what happened to you last night or me this morning is we don't
Yeah.
take time to even process it. We just keep
No.
going.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm like saying I'm bottling it down. It's as I'm thinking about all the
Just
other
yeah.
important things I have to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not spending time on that.
Yeah, dude, so good. Yeah, man, I think whenever you're able to ask those deeper questions to get to kind of the root of what's going on. That's what Maggie always says is
Yeah.
sometimes she'll look at me like like I have two heads and she's like, what's really going on? Like, what are you
Yeah.
really stressed about? Because you just lashed out at me about something that, you know, you shouldn't have lashed out about, and so we always kind
Hmm.
of ask ourselves like, what's the root of this attitude, or what's the root of the problem
Mm,
that's causing me to not be able to lead well, or causing me to not be able to, whether that is at work or whether it is in
yeah.
with our family. So yeah,
And
man,
what's
I
fascinating
love
about
this,
that,
dude. Yeah.
talking about the root of it, is
Mm.
having a personal purpose statement or finding your gold will
Mm-hmm.
help you understand, why did the root of that bother you? Or why did the root of that
Mm-hmm.
excite you?
Yeah.
For me, it could be things are, if I want to inspire and equip, maybe I got upset because I felt like I wasn't properly equipping or being properly equipped. Maybe the root of it had something to do that it um,
Mm.
combated my values or wasn't
Mm-hmm.
making the impact that I set out to make. Maybe something bothered me, a comment someone made in a meeting because I didn't think it was living out positivity or the growth mindset in a way. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Hey, what's the root of it? Getting there and then
Yeah.
applying it to what you know about yourself, which our book talks about, the personal purpose.
Yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
ends off. And I think this is what you just bringing it full circle to your journey with your Brad and Entree leadership. Once you've
Yeah.
a leader, it's you're never done. But once you've learned about this refinement process and you've acknowledged
Mm.
that you're the gold and you're refining into it, because the whole idea that inspired this actually is an old worship song. Have you ever heard
Mm.
that song? I think it's by Matt Redman, called "Refiner's Fire," and it says
Mm.
the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
lyrics. Yeah, all right. All right. So just
Yeah.
for people that might know, or to remind, the lyrics are refiner's fire. This is my heart's desire, to be holy, set apart for you, my Lord. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what inspired this whole process, was this idea of, what does it look like when you refine something? You put it to the fire and
Yeah.
you burn it. And that's a
Yeah.
painful process. You burn it down to its
Mm.
simplest form and then you rebuild it. You could say it's
Yeah.
like first principles in a way as well.
Yeah.
But
Dude, it's
the
kind of
idea is,
like re
once,
it's yeah, go for it.
no,
Sorry.
no, what
I
were you
cut you
saying? It's
off.
kind of like what?
I was just gonna say it's refinement and realignment, right? Like
Yes.
it's refining what happened and
Hmm.
making it better, and it's realigning the mentality of like, I'm not going to do that again. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm not going to go back to the same, I'm not
Hmm.
going to
Hmm.
go back to this thing that's causing this you know burden in my life, or this
Yeah.
attitude that I've been putting on display. So I think it's both and, right? Like it's refinement
Yeah.
in the sense of acknowledgement and observation, and then it's I'm gonna realign it, uh, so that I don't do it again. I'm gonna realign my life so I don't actually go down that route again.
Perfectly worded. And actually, it reminds me of a story, and I can end off what I'm talking about
Yeah,
after this. But
sure.
so to help, we're in the beginning, not beginning, we're in the middle of making this book, and one of the things we did is we did a focus group where we brought on people. It was a work. It turned out to be a workshop. We just thought we were going to bring people in and talk
Mm,
about the chapters, but what we ended up
yeah.
happening is people said, "I want time to do the work." So we actually facilitated people doing the work, and with "You're the Goal," the idea is finding a purpose statement. And we had a participant there. Her name was Tiffany, and she created this purpose statement. She said, "I will demonstrate community empathy and vision through creating meaningful events that create adventure, connection, and meaning, where
Mm,
others feel seen, valued, and inspired." Tiffany's
mm,
job was, she was in a part of event coordination. So for client
mm-hmm.
facing events and also events internally for the organization. And
Okay.
from that, we got to the ruminate stage, and she started telling us about this event she had. And there was this conflict she had with a team member. And she's like, "Man, this team member's just getting in the way, trying to make everything worse." And I said everything, and I said exactly what I needed. And this guy's coming in and pretty much almost ruining, or not dismantling, but it's ruining my position or my authority here when he comes in. He's telling everybody, "Oh, do this, do this." And so we
Yeah.
went through the rumination process. And as we were asking some of the questions on the rumination map, what she
Mm-hmm.
realized she had to do when she reviewed it was, I need to have a conversation. I need to have a hard conversation with them about, hey, when you did this, this is how
Hmm.
I perceived it. I want to talk about what are we going to do in the future to make sure this doesn't happen or make sure that we're on
Yeah.
the same page. And
Yeah.
she ended up having that conversation in a mature way, in a way that still facilitated trust because she was using the rumination map of what was going on in his head. And she said, this is what I assumed you're perceiving from this, but I want to know more about you. Here's some
Hmm.
questions I have. And it helped them have a hard conversation and reach a resolution
Yeah.
where they were on the same page for the next event. They're working together instead of against
Yeah.
each other. And that's exactly what we
Yeah.
want to
Man.
happen with this refinement process.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Thank you for sharing through that. And there's another podcast that you did about that talks even more about the refinement process. Um,
Yeah.
and if you wanna find more about that, where can they go to listen to that?
Yeah, I'll give you the link to put in your show notes. But if you look up,
Sweet.
I have my own podcast called the Credit Union Leadership Podcast,
Okay.
the Credit Union Leadership Podcast, and it's called the Refinement Process or Refining Your
Okay.
Leadership. So I'll send the link for
Awesome.
you to have on the show notes as well. But that's actually where I kind of developed the relationship with my co-author and asked her about it, and she's explaining it. And I'm like, wow, this is some good stuff. So you'll get to
Yeah.
learn more about the tried and true principles there.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you for joining us, man. It's been great. I
Yeah.
love talking about this stuff with you. I know we've done it offline too, but
Yeah.
just leadership as a whole, man, in the workplace and with family, and so I appreciate it. And we'll send people your way, and then be on the lookout for Scott's book in the future.
Yeah.
We'll keep you posted on that from our end too. So, all right, man, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, see you.